Hey, I would like to take this opportunity at this time of our lives to start discussing the deeper understanding of enlightenment and the deeper understanding of um, spirituality, the physiology of it, the psychology of it. So the posts are going to get kind of interesting. I think that you're going to see a lot more coming um, about all of these things. But I wanted to kind of like talk first about enlightenment, right? Uh, what does enlightenment mean? It means that you are continuously looking to expand and grow in your physiology and cognition of our human lives and spirituality, really focusing on connection to oneness. You have to live like a spiritual lifestyle. Reaching enlightenment is a journey. It's not a label. It's not one thing. It's unique to you. You have to own it. You are seeking, if you're seeking enlightenment, I'm assuming you are. Realize that your choices, every single choice, thought, everything you do, think, feel, it's you. The journey is you. And you are the one who's responsible to live this life that is like seeking enlightenment, right? And it's not easy. Like I said, it's a choice, right? There are challenges. Our society is not designed to support enlightenment. It's designed to support currency exchange. Think about that. If you're seeking enlightenment, which is normal of the human behavior, right? We're always seeking consciousness, which actually is all scientific. Spirituality and science are the same thing. If you don't understand that, keep following. But the design of our society is based on currency exchange, but the human experience is based on enlightenment. So you can see the disconnect, right? And as we're going through all of these different things, that all this noise in society, you can understand why we're struggling with it, right? Because when you have the ability, like when you're enlightened, right? Things that you cannot do now because you have not experienced it. Therefore, it's not a cognition. It's not something that you fully understand. It's not something you fully believe. You see, like on all these other things, right? Like levitation, telepathy, premonitions, downloads, manifesting crazy abundant stuff, right? The list goes on and on of all the different things you can do when you're enlightened. You're enlightened and you continue to become more and more enlightened. It's not a destination, it's a journey, right? And it's because you put the time in. You did the praying, you did the meditations, you watched what you ate, you got the right amount of sleep, you did all your practices, you live in conscious awareness. Your thoughts, your actions, everything lead to one focus, right? My kids used to complain that I wouldn't let them watch scary movies in the house, let alone horror movies, right? That's not that's not what we're here to do, and that's negative programming in your brain. And it's creating energy. It's creating negative energy, and it's numbing the soul. And the soul is the one seeking that oneness. I'm hoping this makes sense. So the question is, are you here to live in society, or are you here to adapt to the society we live in and here to ascend? Because that's the choice you're making with every action, thought, and thing you're doing. I get a lot of people who say things like, actually, it's very common, very common. And I think it's like 5 people in like the last 10 days have said this. Uh, I want to be like you. I want to do what you're doing. Well, it's a conscious choice, but you have to be willing to live that life. Our society pulls on you and creates restriction, like constraints on you. And we hit against them all the time, right? All the fear mongering, all the stress that's created, the rules, the structures, the naysayers, all of these things, right? So many things. But you have to overcome that. You're not beating that drum. Hell, you're rejecting that drum and you're being like, no, I'm going to have an orchestra. But none of the, because like those things, none of those things matter, right? You control your thoughts, you control your actions, then you can control your brain, you can control your physiology. Everything is intertwined and interconnected. It's all energy. We're all energy, right? And you can dive into this. I can dive into it and totally geek out on the science of it, which sometimes we do. And in some of the programs some of you are in, you've heard me go off on it. But a good example is if you watch the New Moon neurohacking, right? That is a physiology thing. It's all designed. Every piece of that is designed for breaking patterns in your brain and creating the correct experience that you're wanting to have. You have to put in the work and the effort. It doesn't just happen, right? It just happens when you already are living that life. And this matters because every decision you make has a reaction. We all know this. And you're not doing it because someone told you to do it, because it's popular, or because it's some initiative or a new law. You're doing it because it's your core soul's desire to reach enlightenment, to reach oneness. So if you're feeling the stress and anxiety of all the noise, it's getting faster, right? Listening to all the fear being spread, overwhelmed with the pace of everything and how it's going with technology and the information overload we're constantly getting. Nothing new. It's been going on for generations, right? It's hard to keep up now. There's a reason for that. It's intentionally speeding up, and we have to meet it. And then we have to decide to keep pace with it or exceed it. But the reality is when you're not in this alignment, it will continue to feed on those other things. The human body is not designed to be in a constant state of stress, right? Our serotonin and cortisol have balancing and purpose, right? The cortisol is to help us wake up in the morning. That's what makes us go, oh, it's morning. And our body gets a cortisol jump, and then we can jump and go and do things, right? And then when we have emergency situations, right? Again, this is what triggers this adrenaline rush to take care of things. And then we have the serotonin that naturally gets triggered. And this is all naturally triggered by sunlight, but the serotonin naturally gets triggered. And then we're like, oh, the sun is going away and the cortisol is shutting down, the serotonin's picking up, and that allows us to go into sleep. But what people are doing is they're taking supplements, they're doing all these different medications, different tactics, all these things to try to sleep. The reason at the end of the day, you're supposed to stay off your screen for 20 minutes and really have quiet time is because you need that serotonin to start feeding into your body. And when you aren't giving your body the opportunity to function naturally, you're sleeping with your TV on, you're scrolling on your phone at night, you're on the computer and then decide, boom, you're going to go to bed, right? All this screen. So there's nothing wrong with blue light, which is what's coming from the screen. There's nothing wrong with it, but it's when you have it. And when you're in the natural flow of nature, living in the laws of nature, your body will naturally respond. And that's all the things I'm constantly talking about, not putting it into like these really complex explanations of all the stuff that I've studied, because that's what I love doing. But it's all being put in terms that I'm hoping you can understand when I'm saying, like, you need to do yoga. There's reasons I say to do yoga. It changes your whole physiology and it connects you into the natural flow of energy. Your breath work is done in yoga, sacred geometry. That is a pattern that resonates with the vibration that goes into like a whole string theory thing. And the reason why you can't see it and the reason it gets masked and the fact that it's still vibrating even though it's not moving, right? It really is true. This is real. So when you're moving your body in these sacred geometry, and then you're having chanting and mantras with it, all these pieces, yeah, you feel better. You feel better because you're aligning with nature and your body's here for it, right? So as all these things are changing, we need to adapt and change. And it's not, the answer isn't in, I'm not going to label everything. I'm just going to say the answer is not in quick fixes. And the funny thing is if you start doing these practices, the meditation, the breathing, the yoga, the whatever rituals you're doing based off of your practice, when you start doing these things, you naturally start living in the flow of nature and very, very quickly get them resolved. Now, a good example is I've broken my neck twice actually. And I had a lot of scar tissue that made it difficult to move my head. And I was in a constant state of pain, like migraines. And sometimes I'd have to take naps in the middle of the day to relax these muscles. And I was doing yoga and I was going to the chiropractor, and it's still like it helped, but it not resolve it. And so then I was going deeper in my certifications with yoga and got a new practice because I learned something new and was like, oh my gosh, the thing I had been fearing that I hadn't been doing is actually what fixed it. And within less than a week of this new practice, it solved the problem permanently. And I haven't had any problems since with one pose, right? That's living in alignment with nature, letting your body's physiology vibrate naturally. People are like, you're glowing. How do you have so much energy? How do you do all the things? How do you have that perspective? I live in consciousness, right? In alignment with nature. And that's what it is. We have this desire to understand and connect and feed our souls. Stop denying yourself of that, right? Really look inside. This is why I talk about boundaries. This is why I teach all the things I do, because I want you to have these experiences so that you can cognize it and go, I can do more, right? If you start getting practicing your pendulum and you start getting all these answers, and it's like you're getting all these signs and all these like, and you continue to grow and you start getting downloads and you're having all these experiences and you're healing your body and your stress is getting relieved, you're getting more open to your connection with source, the great spirit, God, whatever label you want to put on it, right? You're getting closer and closer, and you just naturally start glowing. You naturally start getting happier. You naturally don't have the extreme with the hormones of cortisol and serotonin all over the place. You naturally don't have anxiety and stress. You are in this constant state of awareness. And when you do that, that's when you're able to receive all the messages. So you're going to start seeing more things like this from me, and just so that you can start letting these things fade away. And if you're along for the journey, I strongly recommend you joining Fireside. It is amazing what's happening there. And I hope that you can cognize, it can process and internalize what I'm saying and give it an opportunity. Give yourself the opportunity for true bliss. Why it's called Bliss Out Fireside, right? We work on these things individually, as a group. Many people have become practitioners. Some are working on being an author, opening up other practices because they want to give back to help others through this, right? That's what all these things are that you see. Whatever label that is on it, it doesn't matter. What matters is that understanding of that connection with nature and oneness. And there's a flow and a vibration, and it vibrates really, really high. And then the noise that's happening here and the pace of everything here actually starts becoming pretty slow. And you're like, oh, so all the practitioners and the people that have been going through and becoming consultants, healers, whatever label, it's because they've taken the journey. And I just invite you to take the journey. You can take it with us, or you can take it on your own. You can take it whatever way you want, but expand in your human consciousness, expand in the modern science, the Vedic science that was ancient, that is actually proven now, right? There's all these things. I could just keep going on. I'm going to stop. I just want to say, please understand that as things really speed up and they're starting to become overwhelming, and they're going to get more overwhelming. There's going to be so many paradigm shifts, so many shifts we're going through, especially this year in the next 12 months. And I think that you should just give this a try and see how it works, because I think you will find the most amazing bliss like I have. And I really wish that for everyone. Have a good day, night, whatever time of day you're watching this. Thanks for listening. Bye.